the day the squad and Bernie voted for war credits for the Ukraine, that whole enterprise called, the progressive, turned into a rotting corpse. The whole job of leftists, as they understood it back then, is to constantly point out the conflict of interest, what they call contradictions, but we can leave that aside. The conflict of interest between the ruling elite, the capitalist class, and yourself, to constantly point out their interests are not your interests. Their interests are not your interests. Don't be fooled. And for them, the hallmark of what you call class consciousness, the hallmark of class consciousness was seeing that fundamental conflict and cleavage between you, your class, your interests, and the ruling class. Now, let me be clear. That's exactly what Bernie did. He knew, he internalized, it was in his bone and in his blood, that tradition. And that's why day in and day out, and day in and day out, in both of his campaigns, he kept talking about there are a bunch of crooks. There are a bunch of crooks. Big pharma, bunch of crooks. And he did exactly what an old-time socialist would have done. Class consciousness. Their interests are not your interests. But then what happened? When it came to the foreign policy, all of a sudden, the bunch of crooks metamorphosed into a band of angels. You're telling me the same people who are cheating you day in and day out, stealing your wealth, stealing your labor, the same people are suddenly heartbroken by what's happening to the Ukrainian people? Are you telling me that? They're suddenly so concerned about the Ukrainian people?
Welcome to another episode of You Left Shit Out. I'm your host for today. I was going to say one of your hosts. It's not the Nick and CJ show today. I'm your host for today. I'm Jay or CJ. Turn this timer off and this phone off, actually. Doing a weekend episode is becoming, I guess, a routine. I think Ashuria in the comments asked me one time, is this a routine that I'm going to be here on the weekends? Or did she say Sunday or just weekends? But anyway, I'm here. This is a pretty hot topic. So for those brand new to the station, we all sort of have our niche. And I tell this story all the time. I'm going to start telling more often so more people can understand what we do here. So we have Rome, who's our, like, all of us do activism, but Rome is the one who do most of the activism. So he's our man on the street. He's the man of the people. Then we have JB. He does more emotionally taxing stories. So he's going to talk about the ones that really drain you emotionally, sad stories, or undercover stories. And then Nick is our police state and foreign policy. So a lot of the content he does, police state, foreign policy. And then Sabby is our media and also activism, because she promotes activism on her show a lot, lots of guests. And she also picks apart the media contradictions. And then what I do is attack the white moderate. That's so the white moderate that Malcolm X talks about, that's my task. And I see the Justice Democrat strategy, anybody on the left supporting the Democratic Party, as moderate Democrats, the moderate Democrat, the moderate that Malcolm X warned us about. So with all that said, this is very curious because this is in my wheelhouse of what I normally cover. So this is curious to me, the discussion that progressive Democrats are having right now about Hakeem Jeffries, I think that's how you say it. And this is not the Hakeem from Zamunda. And some of you will get that reference. Forgot. I'm sure some of you will get that reference. But you left shit out. So we're gonna get to the comments for the chat check in just a second and do some other announcements. But just to go over some of the stories we're going to be covering today. Let's see some of the other stories. This is the top one, and this is the thumbnail. So Hakeem Jeffries has publicly sort of displayed his displeasure for what he calls the far right or socialist people of the Democratic Party. It's pretty much a middle finger to them, and which is why the thumbnail also says the Justice Democrat strategy just got way harder. So it was already filled with a lot of flaws, but now it's even worse. And you would think, how could it get worse than it is when you have people not executing the plan from the inside? Because it's not the outside people in this outside inside game that you're supposed to do in tandem. It's not the outside people that's dragging their feet. It's the inside people. So we'll jump into that, and let me see some of our other topics. Of course, I stay away from. I did Elon's story and then I left it. Like I moved on. But I do want to cover a poll that he put up, and I put it. I think it was posted in the comments on YouTube, on the community. I'm sorry, in the community tab. About reinstate Trump or not on Twitter, and that was the question he posed. It was a poll, very close. So we'll cover that. Jank tells progressives not to vote for Hakeem Jeffries, which is very weird to me, because why wasn't that applied to Nancy Pelosi? Not because in his tweet he said something like he doesn't understand why any progressive would ever vote for Hakeem Jeffries. And that's the same question we said about Nancy Pelosi. So why wasn't that applied? We'll talk about that. Nick covered the Jon Stewart story, so we'll briefly just talk about the video. I'll bring it up and play it, but that'll be a very short clip. Also, MBS given immunity by Joe Biden. Yeah, so we're winning, right? Democracy winning. But we're going to start with the first story. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Negro, takes the House. He takes control of the House, and he hates progressives. So that is what we're going to start with. But before we do that, let's see where we're at with the chat check and the like check. We are, what are we at? 180 people. And we're at 88 likes. So could we push to 150? Could we push to 150 likes? That'll jump more people in, because I think I should probably start with, yeah, I'm going to start with the main story, the Hakeem Jeffries story. I think that's how you say his name, Jeffries. Yeah, Jeffries story. So let's check the chat. We're going to push to 100 and I think I said 50 likes, and let's see what people are saying. I think we had like 20 comments before we even got started. We're approaching 200 people now, so keep liking. That'll bring more people in. Keep liking. Trying to get to 150, I think was the target. But if you keep liking, more and more people will pop into the room. Let's read this first comment. The squad has them right where they want them. They're just about to start fighting, right? Now is the time. Now that you're not in the majority, now is the time to really signal how radical you are. So that's coming. So let's check the next comment. I don't know if it's a contradiction, but we have the right to remove our government if it isn't working for us, and politicians swear to defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic enemies. Right, but if they the ones are the enemies, the ones sworn to defend it, the government would consider the citizens as a threat, right? The government would consider, oh yeah. Yes, oh yeah. Jank is bipolar. I don't know, but I mean, if he is, that's a medical condition. I wouldn't make fun of it if he is. I understand that it's just an observation. Hopefully, it'll help another person comes to that conclusion. Oh, you're having a conversation. Angela's here. Hello, everyone. Rokana for speaker. I'm vomiting right now. Somebody was saying, how come Pramila Jayapal doesn't run for speaker? I think in one of the videos, Majority Report, I think when we get to. And it's like, have you seen what Pramila Jayapal has been doing lately? Greetings, comrades, dancers, and fishers. The 2018 squad just got their pensions. They couldn't care less. That was a continuation of that. Hi, RBN. And yes, they're the fraud squad. Hakeem has always been a capitalist bootlicking piece of, or POS, but what else did she think Capitalist Party was going to do? That is actually a very good question. And that's a question to progressive Democrats. Like, you wanted the older person out, and you got this new face that can talk the right game even better than Pelosi, but is even further or is even more hostile to you. Like, is there a change in strategy? Is there any change in strategy with this development? So we'll be talking about that also. The NATO squad, that is their new name. RBN officially calls them that. Yes. How do I get those off? Is there a way to click those off? If I just turn off monetization, I think they'll goes off. But then that turns off the super chats. So Nick and Sabby knows how to do that. I'm just lazy. I need to figure. I just lazy, just like with people were complaining about ads when I was playing videos. It took me a while to get that. That took me 2 months. I'm the lazy one with getting that technical stuff done. So I'm sure there's something I can do to turn that off. I just got to figure out how to do it. Hey, y'all. Here, that was Rick. Cassie. And, oh, sorry. Didn't say your name. This is Yaniola. And I think Cassie already. I can see your chat. I come in peace. So hopefully, I wonder if that means you have a difference of opinion, which is fine. We have lots of people with difference of opinion who always watch us. Oh, you're telling the other person to get ad blocker, yeah? Because I have ad blocker on mine, so when I play videos now, the ads don't come up. So yeah, Hakeem Jeffries is horrible. Yes. Yeah, that was Coming to America. Yes, that was, somebody guessed the phrase. King of Zamunda, Hakeem is one of the characters in Coming to America. So that was the reference. Hakeem Jeffries will be the first black blah, blah, blah. This is identity. Yeah, this is how identity politics is going to be played. That's why RBN has to be an attack dog, because that critique of our criticism doesn't falls flat. So that is the exact reason why RBN does have to be an attack dog. But we played this first video, or I played this first video from Useful Idiots, just a fire video, calling out the NATO left, and how basically the vote for funding all of these wars, this war funding votes that they've been doing, has collapsed the progressive movement. And it's my contention, of course, that it's always been collapsed. So we did a chat check, we did a like check. If you want to join our mailing list, join our Substack. If you want to get notifications of when we go live, surprise, unannounced streams, join our Substack, and you will be sent an email, generally 30 minutes to an hour, but as much as 2 hours before the stream, so you can make sure you're able to check out parts of it, if not all of the live stream when it's going on. Or if you just now get into the stream an hour, 90 minutes into the stream, and you want to be notified sooner, just join our Substack. The other thing is this was our count, I think, the last time we updated. So let's update this count. If you're brand new, welcome. Join or subscribe so that you are able to talk or speak in the chat, because you do have to be a subscriber. So let's go to 691. So we just hit 6, or this is the updated count as of this stream. All right, so I think we got all the announcements out of the way. So now it's time to get into the main topic. Main topic. I think I'm going to play this a little bit as I'm going to move on. Let's move on. So it is fire. It is a nice video. I was just going to replay it again, just so I can reiterate the point. But let's get to the topic, and that is actually, let's bring up some items here. Hang on a second. Yeah. The first topic, which is Hakeem Jeffries, is now is in line to be the House Speaker. Everybody knows, even if they mount a challenger now, it's pretty much he's the one that's going to be the next House Speaker. And it's actually like 3 of them. It's like a package that they've been training. And keep in mind, Nancy Pelosi is not going anywhere. So to me, this reeks of Nancy Pelosi is still running the House. And these are just puppets. That's what this reeks of to me. First topic is Hakeem and progressives. So this is the topic. It's a broad topic, but several tweets and different items I'm going to be showing you. So I think I'm going to start there. Let's start with some of the disappointment of people. And this is how I found this. I mean, I kind of already knew, so I knew to go search, but I found out that this was a big deal to people. So let's start right here with Emma. This is Emma a while back. Just pointing out. So we're going to circle back to this article, but because we don't want to start here. I thought this was her other tweet. But let's blow it up just so you can see what it is. So this tweet is from February of this year, and the article is entitled "Exclusive Top House Democrats Unveil Plan to Beat Back Progressive Rebellion." And that's the golden boy there, the guy of the hour, Hakeem Jeffries, I always says his name sometime. Hakeem Jeffries, this is Emma Vigeland. Hakeem Jeffries, despite being a member of the Progressive Caucus, is circling the wagons on behalf of the party's most conservative members. And then it's the title. Now think about that. He's a progressive. He's part of the Progressive Caucus, supposedly. He's mounting challenge. He is creating PACs and doing things to make sure that to keep progressives out. But that's a progressive. So we'll cover this article in just a little bit. Let's go to one of her earlier tweets here. Not that one. That's another back end tweet that we're going to cover. Now, this is Jake. This is him saying, I've said about 20 times on air that Nancy Pelosi would hand off leadership to Hakeem Jeffries. If it was very obvious that she would give it to the most corporate of all the Democrats. Some progressives thought Pelosi would back them if they just played ball. A ridiculous strategy. Really? He's calling it a ridiculous strategy. Okay, there's no need to get into it. This is just, I'm just warming up here. I don't want to get too hot already, but so that's Jane. And let's continue to some other ones. This is another Jane tweet, and this is him trying to motivate, call out, put on blast, put on Front Street progressive, saying, I don't know why any progressive would vote for Hakeem Jeffries, For leader, he is diametrically opposed to us on most of our policy priorities and represents the corporate wing of the party. He tags AOC. He tags Pramila Jayapal. He tags Rokana, Corey Bush, Jamal Bowman. Now, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Summer Lee. Now, I don't know why he's tagging Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman is Hakeem Jeffries' prodigy, is his mentor, or I should say, Hakeem Jeffries mentors Jamal Bowman. I don't know if it's in the second part to this, but there is Colin's response, and he says, I don't know why any progressive would vote for Speaker Pelosi for leader. That's the same reaction I had, Colin. That was the first thing that I thought of. So yeah, let's go to, I know there's another Emma tweet, but let me get past the next, this is for the Jon Stewart segment. So let me get past all of this and get to my tweet here. So I think it's easier. I start putting everything in a bookmark. That way I can just kind of scroll down instead of flipping through screens. So this one says, this is me saying, if progressive Dems couldn't even get crumbs from Pelosi, Hakeem hates progressives even more than Pelosi. They won't even get crumbs from Hakeem. This Justice Democrat strategy is a disaster. And then there is Michael, non-voting felon. They will be too afraid to talk back to him because he's black. Look at Jamal Bowman. He tweeted out how proud he is to be Brooklyn-born like Hakeem Jeffries. I didn't even see this tweet. And I'm sure Hakeem Jeffries hates his guts. Man. But I'm gonna have to check out what Jamal Bowman said. But that's a hilarious reply from Mike. Here's another one. This is from Max Burns. And let's read what Max Burns says. He says the immediate challenge for presumptive Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is that he lacks Pelosi's credibility with the left. So he said this is his challenge. He lacks credibility with the left. And let me read the whole tweet. Many progressive Democrats skeptical that he can speak for where the party should be in 2022. Fears he'll burn party enthusiasm fighting the left. Why do we think that's not the point of him being put there? What if that's the point of him being put there and making him black, or not making him, but making the next speaker black makes it to where he is shielded because of identity politics. He is shielded from a lot of criticism. Let me read this first part again. The immediate challenge for presumptive Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries is that he lacks Pelosi's credibility from the left. Pelosi's credibility with the left. I didn't know Pelosi had credibility with the left. That's my first thing. And then, why is this an immediate challenge? Why do they care about anything? They don't care anything about the left. So why is that a challenge? It's not a challenge for Hakeem. He doesn't care about them. He's in charge. Watch how more fierce he's going to be speaking to them, Mark Tartley, in public. You watch what he does. Or at least that's my prediction. I don't think it's going to get easier. Now he's like, bitch, I'm in charge. Who the fuck you talking to? I'm the one in charge now. Oh, here is to the point earlier about Jamal Bowman and Hakeem Jeffries. Let's listen here. And this says Hakeem Jeffries is so anti-progressives, he mentored Jamal Bowman. He's so anti-progressive. Now, he's trying to say that he's anti-progressive because he's mentoring Jamal Bowman. But Jamal Bowman why do we think that means he's progressive? Why are we not viewing it? That means that Jamal Bowman is being pulled to the right towards Hakeem Jeffries, who's have power. Why would the person who's in line who have power be the one that's being pulled towards some sort of progressive fake Jamal Bowman? Doesn't make sense to me. But let's listen to the video. It's nothing big.
So I just want to start with, I'm a freshman in Congress. This is my first time being here, and I can't tell you how important it was for me to be able to reach out to Chairman Jeffries from the very beginning as a Black man leader in Congress from New York.
Yeah, this guy's not going to vote for him. Jank. This guy, yeah, it doesn't sound like he's going to vote for Hakeem. Like, if he votes for NATO and Israel, why do we think Jamal Bowman's going to do anything different? Why is that any different? And here's another thing. I don't see. I wrote this down. Let me see what this is. Let me read it. Where I write it? I don't see the difference that they see. Oh, I gotta close it. Sorry, that's why. I don't see like the different. I don't see a difference between Hakeem Jeffries and the squad and progressives. Like, I don't see a difference between Hakeem and a Ro Khanna, for example. Like, what's different between those two people? And here it goes. I have to refresh my screen. I don't see a material difference between Hakeem Jeffries and the squad or progressive Democrats. I don't see the difference that they see. Like, I don't see the difference between these two. What's different? Hakeem calls himself a progressive. He calls himself a progressive. You're going to see it in several videos we play today. You'll see where he says he's a progressive. So let's finish hearing how Jamal loves this guy and was so appreciative of. So of course he's going to vote for Hakeem.
Important it was for me to be able to reach out to Chairman Jeffries from the very beginning as a Black man leader in Congress from New York City, who represents pretty much the same culture that I represent, to help me out and to mentor me in my first days of Congress. I wanted to thank you, brother, for that formally in front of everyone here.
Thank you.
Now, you are in your 10th term, and you've never seen nothing like what you've been through over the last couple of years. A global pandemic, the worst since the early 1900s, and an insurrection, the first attack on the Capitol since the War of 1812. Can you speak to how this Congress has been different from previous Congresses? And oh, by the way, you also had to deal with the previous president leading into a global pandemic, leading into an insurrection. Can you just speak to how this experience is different from others?
Before he talks, now, if you remember, this is the same event that Jamal Bowman was interrupted by a protester. This is the same event.
Well, good evening again, everybody. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you, Pastor Poe, First Lady Poe, congregation for hosting us, to all of you for coming out. Such an incredible turnout for an amazing member of Congress, my brother, Representative Jamal Bowman. He's a
Why is he amazing? They haven't done anything.
brother, and he's a good friend. And I use that phrase, good friend, in the real sense of the word, y'all, not the congressional.
Real sense of the word. So Jank, sorry, he's voting for his good friend in the real sense of the word friend, not Washington, D.C. friend.
Sense of the word. Because, sometimes you'll hear members of Congress often use the phrase, my good friend. The distinguished gentleman from the great state of California, or my good friend, the distinguished gentlelady from the great state of Florida. Most of the time you hear a member of Congress use the phrase, my good friend, particularly on the floor of the House of Representatives. We don't mean it, y'all. But with Jamal Bowman, I absolutely mean it. He's been a good friend to me, to the caucus, the Congress, the country, the Constitution, and the communities that he represents. I brought the alliteration for Jamal Bowman today.
So that was nice. One of the progressive Democrats, one of the newer ones, is best friends with the guy that hates your fucking guts. if you're squad people. This is so funny. This is so funny to see this shit collapse. the collapse. So the collapse of this strategy. Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, Hakeem Olajuwon, he was a good basketball player. Yeah, he's none of the stuff that they listed. He's none of that. This guy is talking like Obama, or taking like Obama. Toking. You mean like tokenizing, or do you mean talking? Are we missing an L? So I'm not sure which way. All right, so let's continue with the next video. But I thought it was funny at the end. I thought that maybe all of you didn't think it was as funny as I thought. We'll play that video in just a second from him. Some other reaction on here. Here is we'll get to that part. Let's go in order. This is the main one I was looking for. Right here. This is Emma Vigeland, and this is her tweet, and this is done the 18th. So, and this is in response to this tweet. So let's go here first. And this is from the New York Magazine. For the Democratic establishment, Hakeem Jeffries' ascent has achieved something more urgent than passing the torch, keeping the party's left flank at bay. And that's the story, New York Magazine. That's the tweet that Emma's speaking about in this tweet here. Unfortunately, Hakeem Jeffries may be even more hostile to the left than Pelosi. He worked with Josh Gottheimer to create a PAC explicitly designed to undercut progressive candidates. The CPC had years to vet a challenger, and yet they let him get this head start. Maddening. It's only maddening because you, Emma, believe that they want to do what you're talking about. This is actually the way they do want to go. They didn't present a left challenger because they were told not to present a left challenger. So, yeah, exactly, Rick. Emma, the PMC Jacobin left. Yes. Yes, he is. Gottheimer is absolutely terrible. Yes. We can agree on that. That is something we can absolutely agree on. So let's now, maybe I'm zoomed in a little too much. Let's back out just a little bit. And let me click on this actually, because I'm going to pop this up in another screen so I can refer to it in a bit. Or does it pop up here? It does not. Okay. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna pop that up in just a second, but let's take another look at another tweet here. Oh, I gotta go out one more time. Okay, let's go here. I wanted to go. This is Sparkle Fairy's tweet. Oh, I thought I clicked on it. Clicked on something else. My bad. So she has some numbers here. Okay, let's try it again. All right, here we go. This is Sparkle Fairy. And let's read some of the details she has here. So Hakeem Jeffries' primary benefactor, pro-Israel super PAC, Comcast, and lobbyists. That's a nope for me. Not a progressive at all, no matter what his caucus call themselves. And then she has the receipts here that shows the funding. Industries are listed here, totals, and then individual amounts, and then the PACs. Okay, so these are just some of them. So security and investment industry, pro-Israel industry, real estate, lawyer, law firms, lobbyists. Look at the funding. Pro-Israel, one of the top funders. Look at how much that is. Just amazing. And this guy is considered progressive. Calls themselves progressives. And that's the link she links here Open Secrets is where she got this information that she links. Then this doesn't help. So let's go to Ilhan Omar's. Now, we haven't even gotten to the video because there's a lot of tweets to cover. There's still a video to cover. There's still two. One from Humanist Report and one from Majority Report. But this is Ilhan Omar. Now, if Ilhan Omar is an actual leftist, she would know that Hakeem Jeffries is not a real leftist, and she would know that and say he's just leftist by name, the same way that other people call this out. So this is her tweet. And let's see, did she quote? She did not quote tweet anybody. So let's start here. Ilhan Omar, as the whip of the Progressive Caucus, that's her. I want to remind folks that Hakeem, that's him, and Catherine Clark are active members of CPC, that's the Congressional Progressive Caucus, who are running for the top 2 leadership spots of the Democratic Caucus. For the first time, U.S. Progressive, that is the caucus, members will hold 2 of the top 3 leadership spots. Now, I feel like this feels like somebody told her to tweet this out, because the narrative was beginning, and you saw in the tweet from the I think it was Emma, or I forget whose tweet is that said, why aren't the left putting up anybody? And Ilhan's coming out, well, hold on, what do you mean? These are progressives. They're part of the caucus. Just terrible. Just terrible. Yeah, exactly. This is very organic. Somebody told her to go out there and squash that narrative that was being told. And then James Ray at Good Vibes Politic says both Hakeem Jeffries and Catherine Clark are ardent Zionists. In case you wonder what value Congressional Progressive Caucus membership really holds. Exactomundo. So let's take this one here. Now that I have it, and we'll bring up an article really quick here in this window. The article that Emma quote tweeted. Let's just look at a little bit of it, and I think it's here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just look at a little bit of it, and I can close that one. Let's close this. I don't think this website does a lot of pop-ups, but we shall see. Let's take this banner off to give us a little more screen space, and there we go. So here is the House Negro right here. And he is a House Negro. He is here to play the House Negro role, and he plays it extraordinarily well. Let's blow this up, and let's read just a little bit of this article here. In June 2018, let me make sure everything looks good here. Yeah. Let's do this. Make it a little bit bigger. So let's read. In June 2018, a rare opportunity arose for Hakeem Jeffries. A bartender named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ousted then Democratic Caucus Chair Joe Crowley in a stunning primary upset in New York's 18th Congressional District. Crowley's old job was suddenly up for grabs, and Jeffries, then an ambitious 48-year-old representative from Brooklyn, started angling for the chairmanship. Jeffries' main competition was Barbara Lee, his fellow Congressional Black Caucus member and one of the chamber's staunchest progressives. Lee had seniority. She was 72 and had been in Congress for 15 years, longer than Jeffries, but moderate Democrats were getting skittish about Ocasio-Cortez According to Politico, a pro-Jeffries whisper campaign started calling attention to the fact that Lee had donated to her. Jeffries beat Lee by 10 votes. The result had hailed as the dawn of a new generation of Democratic leadership, and 4 years later, Jeffries had fulfilled that promise after Nancy Pelosi announced Tuesday she was stepping down as leader of the House, since she is expected to hand the reins to him. If Jeffries wins election in November 30th, he will, at age 52, be the first Black leader of either party in the House or Senate, a remarkable feat for someone who's been in the Congress for less than a decade. His coronation is part of the Democrats' effort to make the party leadership class younger and Blacker. Jeffries looked the part of a next generation change maker, down to his campaign trail tracksuits and notorious BIG quotes. But for the Democratic establishment, his ascent has achieved something more urgent than passing the torch: keeping the party's left flank at bay. Now, let's go to some of your comments before I continue to read on here, because the comments are stacking up. And I want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats. So, younger and Blacker and fascister. Yes, exactly. And that is the point. The congressional Black talkers do nothing representative. Like that comment. Barbara Lee sold out too. Don't know much about Barbara Lee, but I have heard people say she's better than him, and she would have been a better choice in this spot, but who knows. Bernie is the closest thing to the left in American politics, and he is nowhere left enough. That's a great comment. Emma sold her house because of a spider. Wow. I'm just reading them. I'm not screening them. So I was just rocking out to the song Obama Nation Part 2 by Low Key recently. Definitely still applicable today for all these dudes. So CCP is not a thing. It's CPC, Communist Party of China. Somebody in the comments must be correcting. All right, so let's get back to the article now and continue to read, and then we're going to bring up these videos from Humanist Report and Majority Report. Well, listen to Anna and Mike talk about this this news of Hakeem. And where did I? Okay, left off here. In recent weeks, party moderates have felt vindicated. Establishment Democrats took a lot of flack in 2016 for being out of touch when Hillary Clinton lost the presidency to Donald Trump. They responded by engineering a blue tsunami in the 2018 midterms, highlighted by a net gain of 40 House seats. Joe Biden won the Democratic Party primary and then the White House in 2020. And moderate Senate Democrats picked up a key swing seat in Arizona and Georgia, completing a governing trifecta that ushered in historic legislation on climate change and infrastructure. Obviously, all of this is not true. I'm just reading the words that are here, but this is bogus bullshit. High inflation and Biden's unpopularity seem to portend a wipeout this November. Instead, Democrats defied the odds, retaining control. Not defied, they lied to people, and that's how they controlled the House and control of the Senate, and keeping their House losses to a minimum. Not enough for a majority, but still the best midterm performance by an incumbent president party since 2022. Jeffries has been particularly affirmed too. And this is the quote, the extreme left is obsessed with talking trash about mainstream Democrats on Twitter. When the majority of the electorate constitute mainstream Democrats at the polls, he told the New York Times in 2021. Another quote, the majority of Democratic voters recognize that Trumpism and the radical right is the real enemy, not us. Apparently, extreme left hasn't figured that out. End quote. So, homeboy not happy. He's not happy with the left, and those two quotes kind of show. So let's go to a couple of videos now that kind of talks about this. This story is a longer story. Oh, and now I can go to some of the other receipts on our way to the video. This was another video. Now this was a article from February where she's talking about how the super PAC, where they're trying to take out progressive challengers. And then there's this one back in 2019. Hakeem Jeffries, the establishment Democrat who narrowly defeated progressive Barbara Lee in House caucus race, just signed on to Medicare for All. This is big, as Jeffries could eventually replace Pelosi. So we will see. This is her back then. Now, this is her more recent. So maybe she said, hey, no, this guy is proven to be bad. But this is what she tweeted out about him. Now, we all know this is all he did was just pull a Shantae Brown, where he doesn't care anything about this, but he knows that's what younger people want to hear people saying. So he said, I'm signing on to Medicare for All. It means nothing. And giving these people credit for these hollow sort of gestures, you shouldn't be doing. So let's continue down here. We read that one and we saw that. So now let's go to, I think the first video is with Jane. It's a snippet before we go to the longer video later. I read mine. I read that one. Now let's read Marianne Williamson's tweet here. I'm on my way to the video. Now she doesn't like Hakeem apparently. So again, I don't see the difference in none of these people. Marianne Williamson, David Sirota, Hakeem Jeffries, Jamal Bowman. I don't see any difference in none of these people. They're all the same to me. Nancy Pelosi has passed the baton, but it remains to be seen who she passes it to. Hakeem Jeffries would be a perpetuation of the system as it is. Hopefully someone is willing to lead House Democrats in a more progressive direction, will run for leadership and be next in line. These strategies take years to execute, and they don't care that people are going to just be suffering. They don't care. Sorry. So here's one of the videos here. And this is from the news. I don't need to read the quote because he says it in the video. So let's listen to this minute.
Now, does it matter
if it's 15-second video with Jank talking about the news of Hakeem?
Now, does it matter if it's Hoyer or Jeffries? Is it personal in some way? Oh, we don't like Jeffries. No, it doesn't matter at all. Hoyer's a corporate Democrat. Jeffries is a corporate Democrat. I don't care which one of them it is. It's totally irrelevant. If you give me a progressive like Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, someone who's progressive adjacent, then it could matter, right? But as long as it's a corporate Democrat, I don't have any beef with Hakeem Jeffries in particular.
So you see how they make a distinction? It's offensive to them, and it's clear. It's a big gaping difference to Jank's audience and Jank, him and Hakeem. From the outside, this looks like the same thing to me. I don't see a difference. But let's listen to the rest of what Jank says.
In particular, and what are you going to do? Put like Gottheim there? It doesn't matter. They all are going to do exactly what the donors tell them to do. So should progressives vote for him? Of course not. There's literally zero reason to vote for him. They would do it, why? Out of politeness, and let's be honest, you just mentioned the Congressional Black Caucus, out of identity politics. Oh, you can't vote against someone who's black. Why? Doesn't it depend? What if it was Ben Carson? Why are we supposed to vote for him? And they say it with a straight face, like, no, You have to do it. Doesn't matter. You should do it only based on skin color. Hard pass. No way. I don't care what their skin color is. I care what their policies are. I'm not going to vote for somebody, and no progressive in their right mind should vote for a corporate politician that is going to only serve their donors. What, because of the color of their skin?
Listening to that guy, but we have to cover stuff like this. So so that's his take. There's another video right below this, I believe. Oh, that's the one I played already. So I think it's, oh no, this is the one. So this was almost the opening video. But I decided to go with the other one at the last minute. But let's listen to him. This is a progressive except for Palestine. So let's listen to Hakeem. I think it's turned up all the way. Is it? Yeah.
Someone said to me, they said, Hakeem, you're going to Israel a 5th time? I said, listen, I'm from New York City. And back home in New York City, we consider Jerusalem to be the 6th borough. As long as I have the opportunity to serve in Congress, I'm going to make sure that aid continues in a strongly robust fashion, no conditions.
Jeffries has gone on to support legislation that would punish companies for endorsing the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel. And it's clear that under his leadership, the Democratic Party will be just as adversarial to leftists hoping to win primary elections. The American Prospect reported on his prior activities crushing the left. He started the Team Blue PAC last year to help fund the campaigns of incumbent centrist Democrats against left-wing challengers.
That's what a lot of people are already referring to, what we kind of already talked about, where he's supporting the PAC that kind of takes out progressives, but he's a progressive. He's a progressive. That's very weird. That's very weird. But it's just part of the just sort of Benny Hill nature of the Justice Democrat strategy. It's very Benny Hill. Can I get a Benny Hill video? Maybe I can get a Benny Hill sound effect. Let me see if I can find one. But but the strategy is very Benny Hill. And if you don't know Benny Hill, let me look it up and see if I can pull some Benny Hill up here for you. At least the sound. But it's very Benny Hill. Okay, yeah. So I'll play it. I'm sure a lot of you already know what it is and heard it, but for those younger, but let's finish this video and then I'll play that Benny Hill.
His main ally on that project is Rep. Josh Gottheimer, the corporate Democrat who was instrumental in sinking the social welfare programs in the Build Back Better legislation. Prospect noted that the formation of Team Blue was likely about, quote, settling scores with young squad-adjacent progressives. As they say, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
So let's go to the Benny Hill video. Oops, Benny Hill video. So I'll just type it in from this screen instead of bringing the other one. So if you don't, it's Benny. I think it's a show from London or UK or something. It's an older show, but it's like it has a cult, not following, but you'll recognize the music, I'm sure. But the Justice Democrat strategy is very Benny Hill-esque to me. You tell me that music doesn't belong in the background when you're discussing the Justice Democrat strategy. Tell me this music does not belong in the background of a discussion, a serious discussion of people thinking that the Justice Democrat strategy is a real discussion. So that's Benny Hill, if you didn't know. But yes. So anytime we talk about Nick, you know how anytime we talk about the Justice Democrats, just terrible strategy, we need to have some Benny Hill music just ready to play. We need to upload it into StreamYard. A Benny Hill sound effect, because it's literally Benny Hill at this point. That's what it is at this point. So let's go back to the presentation. I think I'm going to go away now from Twitter, and we're going to go now to the presentation on YouTube, which is a couple of videos. We're going to start with our good friend, Mike, over at the Humanist Report, who had lots of great things to say about us last week. We'll start with his video. And yeah, I will toss up your comments in just a second here while I'm pulling up this video. That's going. All right, so this one. Which one do I close? I guess I'll close this one and see what happens here. Oh, pick the right one. All right, so let's go to the Humanist Report. History. So you'll see a lot of kid stuff because my daughter watches. Since I pay on this account now, my daughter uses this account to, or everybody uses this account to watch stuff. So you may see that in the history. Here it goes here. The thumbnail says, who's next? I clicked the wrong thing. The thumbnail of the Humanist Report video says, who's next? And let me give you the title just a second here. The title is Nancy Pelosi's likely successor has a hate boner. Oh, that's funny. Hate boner for leftists. Oh, that's Mike. But he comes up with these quirky, funny phrases sometimes with his titles. Let's pause it here, and we're going to cover this video. It's about a 10-minute video. And see what they're talking about. But let's do a chat check really quick. See what everybody's talking about. Oh, Mike wanted another slapping. Slapping. 3 cheese. That's funny. The Benny Hill theme classic. Yes. Or otherwise known as the progressive strategy, the Justice Democrat theme song. Be careful, Benny Hill's extremely. Yeah, I know. So that's why I try to keep it at 8 seconds. That's what I've been told is the mark. So I think I kept it at 8 seconds before I stopped it. I can't stand Mike Figueredo now. I used to be a subscriber. Well, that's good to hear. Good to hear that you've sort of waken up from this. V for Vendetta seems what I see. All right, so let's listen now to and by the way, let's see where we're at. We're at 285 likes with 418 people watching. Can we push that to 350 likes? So let's spend a moment or two liking the video. Let's see if we can get to 350. We're at 285 right now, but we have 418 people watching, so we can probably get another get to 500 people maybe. But let's play this video. This is an interesting video. I'll be stopping a lot to make comments and get your comments too. I'll stop it and see what you have to think in the comments. So let's listen.
And with great confidence in our caucus, I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress. For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect. And I'm grateful that so many are ready and willing to shoulder this awesome responsibility.
Well, it's official. Nancy Pelosi is no longer going to be the leader of the Democratic Party. And I'm not going to spend the majority of this video talking about her legacy. I think that there are a plethora of pretty good write-ups that will inform you about what she was and wasn't able to accomplish during her tenure as leader. I want to rather focus on the future of the Democratic Party and the direction that I think they should be headed in, but won't, unfortunately, be headed in that direction. But let me just say this about Nancy Pelosi. Even if
he says this is the direction they should be headed in, but unfortunately they're not, why are we supporting a party in that case? Why why are we still supporting, like, the party can do what? Like, so the party can, what if the party says we're now anti-choice? We're now anti-choice. We now want to bring back, like, what needs to happen before progressive adjacents, Jacobin like DSA types, what needs to happen for there to be a break? They're literally now openly, I mean, they were doing it before, but now progressives are all coming in. The incoming progressives are all pro-Israel. Like, what's happening? Progressivism is regressing.
If, as a leftist, I obviously vehemently
Even in the media structure, because if you watch a video from Mike, and we played it in the last time we covered Mike, when he was on Jimmy Dore, you hear him talking in a way that is like, what the fuck? And maybe I'll play it later. It's like it's two different people. But let's listen to Mike today, 2022 Mike.
vehemently disagree with her on policy issues. I've got to say that I won't deny how effective she was as a leader. I don't think that she was always very effective at combating the Republican Party and pushing back against their lies and extremism. But in terms of the way that she governed her own caucus, I do believe that she was effective. And that's not necessarily a good thing for me as a leftist, because I think she was also very effective at crushing the progressive left and getting them to fall in line every single time she needed them to. She was also very effective at amassing a lot of wealth during her tenure as leader, largely due to stock purchases that members of Congress should never, ever be allowed to make. But with that being said, she's stepping down, and both Steny Hoyer and James Clyburn are also not seeking leadership positions. So this is effectively paving the way for Hakeem Jeffries to emerge as the new Democratic Party leader in the House, with Catherine Clark and Pete Aguilar as numbers 2 and 3 respectively, which means that a new generation indeed will be taking over the Democratic Party, which
And I hear Pete Aguilar is like a total like corporate Democrat, like up and down, like a total corporate Democrat. And I'm assuming Catherine is too, just like Hakeem. You can't get here without being corrupt and taking gobs of money. You simply can't get to leadership without that.
which sounds really good on its face, right? But this is a classic case of change on the outside, continuity on the inside. And that's not to say that I don't think that the old, out of touch leaders of the Democratic Party needed to step aside, because they did. But the problem is that the institutional factors that led to the party being a hollowed out neoliberal shell of its former self will remain intact, regardless of who is the leader of the party, meaning that significant changes will not come even as the next generation takes the reins. And I think that that's a huge problem. Now, this goes without saying, obviously. Compared to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party is light years ahead of them in terms of just representing the
light years. I would pull back a little bit, maybe not light years. Mine would be more, would say a smidgen would be mine. So there's a big difference between light years and a smidgen. But I digress. Let's get back to Mike.
The people, but they're still nowhere near where they actually need to be. And so the party needs to represent the core of their base, the base who always makes them successful. And that is their young, diverse, progressive voters who just save their asses. And we got a taste as to why young voters,
they
millennials,
saved their asses because they were duped and tricked and lied to. You're acting like this was a coalition of people that came out to inspire to vote for Democrats because they like Democrats and not because they were lied to. Light years within the universe of infinity is nothing. This is a good point. Nanny did nothing for the folks living in the tents in her backyard. The Dems are great at manufacturing consent for screwing over people. Circus salad ballot. think that's what that is. Most lied to people in history. That's us. Yep. Young voters will be no different than previous generations. That's sad to see. But history speaks for itself. They was lied to about student debt and abort. Exactly. Yes, we covered this. They were lied. That was complete sham. I think the title of the stream is like the student debt. Yeah, student debt forgiveness was a sham. I think that's the title of it. Either that or the thumbnail says that. So if you want to go check out that stream where we cover that, you can. Oh, that's the one I just read. Oops. It just refreshed, so I don't know where it left off. But anyway, I'm going to get back to the presentation here. So let's cover some more tweets. Now let's cover some more of the content.
Millennials and Zoomers came out in droves to support Democrats, and it's because they delivered just a little bit for them. I think that the $10,000 to $20,000 worth of student debt cancellation was huge. It was a huge motivator for young people. And if Democrats move in the correct direction and embrace progressive policies, they will be in much better shape going into the future, better positioned to combat the GOP's rising fascism. This means that they need to do more of the little bit of progressivism that we saw over the course of the last couple of years. This means they need to embrace Medicare for all, single-payer healthcare. They need to embrace, vocally so, marijuana legalization in all 50 states. We need to make sure that they get on board with free college and all student debt being canceled, all medical debt being canceled, and these progressive...
Now, that's what the Democrats he's saying they should do. They're not going to do that. But let's fast forward to Hakeem Jeffries, because that's what this segment is about. But I did want to hear that part. I just didn't want to continue on that. So let's now switch to Hakeem.
He's just more of the same. In the last election cycle, his top donors include the securities and investment industry, pro-apartheid, pro-Israeli government PACs, the parasitic health insurance industry, commercial banks, corrupt telecom.
Why isn't this a list of reasons on why you've given up on this Justice Democrat strategy? Shouldn't that be a list? Shouldn't, when you go look at who is supporting the people in the leadership of the party you're in, shouldn't you shouldn't you go read and see this? Or when you're reading this, why aren't you going, what the fuck are we doing here? Why is that not the response to reading this? Let's continue with Mike.
Telecoms, among others. And it's not just that he is beholden to large multinational corporations, but he's perhaps more openly antagonistic towards progressives than even Steny Hoyer was, who was next in line to take over as Speaker for Nancy Pelosi had he not decided to step down. And again, let me remind you that young people are progressive, and progressives are who this party should be aggressively courting. But Hakeem Jeffries is not in favor of progressives. In fact, when you look at elected Democrats and you see this sort of clash between moderate Democrats and progressive Democrats, you can argue that Hakeem Jeffries has led the charge against the progressive wing of the party. Now, he made this clear in a 2021 interview in The Atlantic with Edward Isaac Dovier, where he said this, quote, "There's a difference between progressive Democrats and hard left democratic socialists," he told me. It's not a...
You see? He's the progressive. You're the hard left. That's the narrative that is being presented. They understand progressive is the new thing to be, just like when liberal was the new thing, and then all of them labeled themselves liberal, and now they're labeled liberal, and now they moved on to what the newest left flank in the Democratic Party started calling themselves progressives. Now all of them are progressives. Hillary Clinton called herself a progressive in 2016. And 2020, or I'm sorry, maybe it was 2020 and not 2016. Nancy Pelosi calls herself a progressive. There's a bunch of Chantel Brown is a progressive. So that's to the point that he's making in this article. The name of the article, The Next Face of the Democratic Party, and that's from The Atlantic. That's the article he's reading.
2021 interview in The Atlantic with Edward Isaac Dovere, where he said this, quote, "There's a difference between progressive Democrats and hard left democratic socialists," he told me. "It's not a distinction that I'm drawing. They draw that distinction. And so clearly, I'm a Black progressive Democrat concerned with addressing racial and social and economic injustice with the fierce urgency of now."
You see, all just dripping with identity politics and all of that. Dripping.
That's been my career. That's been my journey. And it will continue to be as I move forward for however long I have an opportunity to serve. There will never be a moment where I bend the knee to hard left democratic socialism. Now understand that when he talks about the hard,
I will never bend the knee to the hard left democratic socialism. And we criticize them. Yes, we criticize this hard left people as being not left enough and soft, and he's saying he will never bend to the knee to those milquetoast people. Let's see here. This country will never get real change as long as people keep voting for anyone running for office within the party of the status quo. That is so on point. Was late, so had to rewind, but I'm caught up now. Hello, everyone. What's up, CJ and PA? Great time to say, if you are just joining and you want to be notified earlier, so you can join earlier, join our Substack, and we'll send out notifications. So join our Substack. All right, so let's continue with the video.
hard left and democratic socialism, he's using that as a synonym for individuals within the squad. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, individuals who have been very, very progressive. And I don't agree with AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley on everything, but by far they are the best of what the Democratic Party has to offer. And if the entire party looked like the squad, then they would be in a much, much better predicament than they currently are in. And that's not to say that they're in terrible.
I don't see why that is. Why would we be in a much better position? They literally, like, we can't keep acting like they didn't. They literally had the power. They literally had the power to do what the Freedom Caucus is about to do. And they chose not to do anything. So that is something you just cannot keep skipping over, those on the reformist side. But let's listen more to Mike. Oops.
Shape for most people. I would argue that they're in bad shape, but just compared to the Republicans, like all they have to do is behave like functioning adults. And I think that there's going to be a large portion of the electorate that will still continue to vote for them, i.e. independents. But again, what Democrats need is they need to embrace the policies that young people want them to embrace. And with Hakeem Jeffries, that's not going to happen. And in response, the organizations like Justice Democrats who
that's not going to happen, he just said. So do you think the Justice Democrats and people, Justice Democrat adjacent, DSA, do you think they're going to come up with a new strategy to attack this different speaker and this new hostilities, more public hostilities that they're going to be, the incoming that they're going to be receiving? Do you think they're going to change anything? How can they remain in this party and run and win without moving right? How can they do that? There is no way for them to do that. The first thing they've given up and they continue to give up is Palestine. But what's next? What will be the next thing they're going to give up? Who knows? Police reform, Black Lives Matter, they're going to give that up. They're going to give up trans rights. Like, what's the next thing that progressives are just going to say, in order to stay in this party, they're going to have to give up something else. And that takes me to this article. And I'll bring that article now. World Socialist website. Where are we? We are here. I'll come back. But we're just about done with this video. But I can come back to this video. I've used this article before, but Democratic Socialists of America confront left-wing opposition to Biden by shifting further right. And this is what they do. And this is a good article, so go check this out. But I want to move down to a particular part here. And start reading. Oh, here it goes. The reality explodes the DSA's claim that its influence has encouraged the 200-year-old party of imperialist reaction to transform itself into a left-wing party. So instead of transforming into a left-wing party, let's move down here. This is the game changer. I'm going to read here. Let's blow this up. Make sure that's clearly displayed. Now, listen to this part. This is amazing to me. Did I miss where I was at? Oh, here it goes. To bridge the growing chasm between the DSA myth and the Democratic reality, meaning what DSA is projecting is the Democratic Party and what DSA is projecting that can be done through the Democratic Party, to bridge the growing chasm between the myth of what DSA, Jacobin, and these types project and the Democratic reality, the DSA leadership is maneuvering to the right, calling for an end to any, this is the important part, calling for the end to any political principle that might marginalize the DSA from the Democratic Party establishment. Prominent DSA figures are praising even conservative Democrats like Chuck Schumer and New York Governor Kathy H. DSA-linked politicians are abandoning slogans that were associated with their mass demonstrations against Donald Trump, including abolish ICE and defund the police. But this like literally diamond in the rough here. Listen, I just can't believe this statement here. The DSA leadership is maneuvering to the right, calling for the end of any political position that might marginalize the DSA from the Democratic Party establishment. So that basically is saying anything we believe in is debatable in order to stay in the good graces of the Democratic Party. That's what that means. Unprincipled left. We call them the NATO left now. And since we're here, let's just bring up some of the other articles on the same website. You can go check out Pelosi retires as House Democratic leader after narrow election defeat. It talks about from a socialist perspective, if you want to get a take on what's happening with them. But I'm going to read a little bit of it here. And that's going to be down here. Pelosi, you see this, right? Yeah. Let me just read just a little bit. Pelosi announced her decision to a closed-door meeting of the Democratic caucus Thursday, then publicly in a speech on the floor a few hours later. The occasion was carefully choreographed, with Pelosi's remarks followed within minutes by the declaration of House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer that he too would not be a candidate for leadership, but would, like Pelosi, remain in the House as a rank and file member. The results is a generational shift in the House Democratic leadership. Pelosi 82, Hoyer 83, and the third ranking Democrat whip Majority Whip Jim Clyburn is also 82. They are set to be replaced by a trio of already approved by the three outgoing leaders. Approved. Hakeem Jeffries of New York, who will be the minority leader when the new House reconvenes. Catherine Clark of Massachusetts, who will be minority whip. And Pete Aguilar of California, who will be chair of the Democratic conference. So that's just to give a little more detail to the context of the story. And I think I can bring it back to YouTube to finish out the video from Mike, and also the next video, Majority Report video is next. So let's fast forward this back to where we were, which is right here. All right, let's continue.
Now, that's been my career. That's been my journey. And it will continue to be as I move forward for however long I have an opportunity to serve. There will never be a moment where I bend the knee to hard left democratic socialism. Now, understand that when he talks about the hard left and democratic socialism, he's using that as a synonym for individuals within the squad. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, individuals who have been very, very progressive. And I don't agree with AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley on everything, but by far they are the best of what the Democratic Party has to offer. And if the entire party looked like the squad, then they would be in a much, much better predicament than they currently are in.
I've already
that's not to
addressed
say
that bullshit.
that they're in terrible shape. For most people, I would argue that they're in bad shape, but just compared to the Republicans, like all they have to do is behave like functioning adults. And I think that there's going to be a large portion of the electorate that will still continue to vote for them, i.e. independents. But again, what Democrats need is they need to embrace the policies that young people want them to embrace. And with Hakeem Jeffries, that's not going to happen. And in response, the organizations like Justice Democrats, who primary corporate Democrats to get them out in order to pave the way for new, more progressive leaders, Hakeem Jeffries launched his own PAC to counter that, to protect incumbents from primary challenges, which is a direct effort to block grassroots activists from ousting out-of-touch corporate Democrats. So he hasn't just clashed with progressives. He hasn't just disagreed with them on policies and come out against the Green New Deal, for example, because he doesn't like to be pressured or whatever he said. This is somebody who is directly antagonistic towards progressives. And that is a huge problem. So I don't blame people for celebrating, Nancy Pelosi for being the first female Speaker of the House and all that she had to do, the misogyny that she had to combat to get to that place. I don't blame people for celebrating Hakeem Jeffries as the first Black Speaker of the House. I think that these are all things that are good. It's an indicator of progress. However, young people are truly the future of the party, and they can't
there was definitely some question about it. I don't think it was a fait accompli, and it certainly was, I think, somewhat contingent upon how the Democrats did in this past election. Here is Nancy Pelosi on the floor of the House yesterday.
Scripture teaches
this is pretty big news. And I don't, there was definitely some question about it. I don't think it was a fait accompli, and it certainly was, I think, somewhat contingent upon how the Democrats did in this past election. Here is Nancy Pelosi on the floor of the House yesterday.
Scripture teaches us that for everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. My friends, no matter what title you all, my colleagues, have bestowed upon me, speaker, leader, whip, there is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak of life's blessings.
There it is. And so, I mean, my first response is like, good for her. And maybe that can be sort of a little bit of a hint for some of her colleagues in various positions around the Capitol building.
Well, Steny Hoyer took note and is stepping away as well.
Clyburn too.
And
Yeah.
Clyburn as well. I have some issues with, the sort of the anointing of their followers as if this was a, some type of royal ascension.
Isn't that what it is, Sam? Sorry. Isn't that what it is? Because aren't they just yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So if you didn't hear me, I should have put that in there. I said that something, Mike, sometimes I hit it and it doesn't. So maybe you didn't hear. So I'll leave it on here and turn it off on there because sometimes this doesn't work. Anyway, so I'll try to do that. So sorry about that. But you saw the video. Where was I? Hang on a second. I forgot what I was saying because I was thrown off.
Well, I have some issues with, the sort of the anointing of their followers as if this was a.
Yeah. So now I remember. But I was saying, isn't this the change? Isn't that just what this is? They're just anointing their followers. Isn't that exactly what's happening? This is a monarch. That's exactly what's happening. Because there, just think about what's happening. What's the big uproar about Hakeem when there hasn't been a vote? What's the big uproar? It's because he's next in line. He's the one who has been chosen to be the next. So it's like they pick who they want and then they say, y'all vote for them. So it's like, oh, he was voted into. No, they wasn't. This was picked. He's being picked to be this person. So I don't have, does it look like an Alexa? I don't have an Alexa. I have like a, I don't know if it's an Alexa. It's like a little white thing like this. I know my wife got it from Amazon. Maybe it is an Alexa, but it doesn't look like this mic. But yeah, good that this is working. So, you see that? It's a short or something in the wiring. So I won't touch it anymore to make sure it doesn't turn my sound off again. But my apologies. All right, so here, let's continue with the video. They haven't said her guest name, but now that my mic is working again, I'll tell you the name of the video is Pelosi's handpicked successor extremely hostile to progressives.
Some type of royal ascension type of situation. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what are your thoughts, Heather?
Well, I think she had to do it. I mean, I agree with you that it was really probably contingent on whether or not they kept the House with, that narrow majority that was going to go either way. Had it stayed that way, I think she might have stayed for another 2 years to manage that very narrow majority, which is very difficult, as we're going to watch.
I was saying that she's only leaving because they lost the majority. She would not be leaving if she won the majority. So yeah. So let's continue.
Some glee as Kevin McCarthy attempts to do it, and I don't think he has nearly the skill. Well, I know
she doesn't. What skill does it take to be corrupt? What skill does it take to say, "Hey, I have no principles, so anybody who wants to give me money, give me money"? Like these skills that Humanist Report and the three here are applying to Nancy Pelosi, I completely reject. She doesn't have any skill. She's not no statistician. She's a brutal, terrible tyrant who raises a lot of money. That's it. That's not a skill. She will be good on Wall Street, pretty much. Let's continue.
I know he does not have anywhere near the skill that Nancy Pelosi does. So she may very well have just waited to find that out. It certainly seems that way, but it's time. I mean, we knew that. I had kind of expected her to retire in 2020. And if they'd had a larger majority, I think it might have happened then. She's been grooming this, Hakeem Jeffries and this crew for a while. And what you say is true. I find the anointing to be rather bizarre, frankly. I don't understand. The party's half and half. There's plenty of new blood in there. I'm a little surprised that I haven't heard more from other Democratic, other Democrats in the Progressive Caucus, or maybe even blue dogs, from the Midwest or something, saying, hey, we have a right to do this too. And
are you a little surprised? Like, are you really? Like, if you're surprised, if you're really truly surprised, where have you been this whole time with the Democratic Party? Like, why are you surprised about this? Like, where have you been? Now, granted, I don't know who this is. I'm sure maybe some of you recognize it.
And more of a battle for the leadership, and it may still happen. I mean, this is still early days, and everyone's basking in the tributes to Pelosi, and maybe just trying to be decent about it for the moment, and maybe the knives will come out soon. But I really am surprised. I knew that Jeffries was in line to be speaker, and I knew that he was the choice of the Pelosi, leadership group. But I didn't think everybody else assumed that. I thought there were a bunch of other people who were thinking that too. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see more of a battle than this. And they may win in the end. But there's no margin in Democrats keeping it together at the moment. They can afford a fight on this. They don't.
Him getting out.
They can afford a fight because they're not in power. That's when they actually do stuff. Like, have a fight, right?
Head of it is a massive advantage. I mean, and they already have this kind of like 3-person ticket of who is going. They're all banding together. It's Catherine, what's
Clark,
Catherine Clark, and from Massachusetts, and that's what's most concerning to me here is that you hear rumblings like, Jayapal might consider running now. And it's like, why haven't the progressives had a plan on this front?
What are you talking about? They have one. Didn't you hear them say that Ilhan Omar said that they have one already? They have two members of their caucus that are going to be part of this. So what is Emma talking about? She didn't get the memo from her people, from her squad people, her squad adjacent. Jerry Springer fights. Yes, this is just a lot of white noise. Agreed. That's because they all know she will govern exactly like Pelosi. Why are people hating Nancy Pelosi? Don't compute. This is a joke, huh? I think that's a parody account, right? So, wait. Gerard, is that how you say it? Gerard Thomas? If this is not a joke, if you're like serious, then ask the question again. I'll go to the newest comments, because people in our audience know this. She's terrible. Yeah, so it's a given. She's one of the most despicable person in Washington, D.C. By far the most corrupt person in Washington, D.C. Long overdue to invest in a guillotine stocks. Get your pitchforks, torches, and hammers out, everyone. All right, I think I'll stop there, and then let's continue with this, and then we have a couple of more stories. We're gonna close this segment out, and we got a couple of more short stories to cover. One of which is the Elon. We'll go over these are like quick rapid fire stories. Like the Elon story, we'll cover the poll he has on whether he should bring Donald Trump back or reinstate his account. We'll also talk about the video with Jon Stewart, Hillary Clinton, and Condoleezza Rice. Is pretty disgusting. And I think that might be it. Oh, MBS given immunity. So those are some short rapid fire stories that are coming up next. Let's listen to a little more. They go a little more in depth about Hakeem Jeffries and how he dislikes progressives.
Because everyone has known that Hakeem Jeffries was being groomed for this position, and now he has a head start. And I feel like once that narrative is written and those connections are made, now we have another Speaker of the House who might even be more hostile to the left than Nancy Pelosi. I mean, he worked with Josh Gottheimer on that True Blue PAC or Real Blue or whatever the hell that thing is, which was explicitly designed to make sure that progressives were not challenging incumbents. And so that is quite concerning to me, at least.
Well, I think it's concerning to a lot of progressives. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is not a favorite of progressives and never has been. I mean, he is a member of the Progressive Caucus, as is Catherine Clark. And the third in line, Pete Aguilar, he's downright almost conservative. I mean, he's really not much of he's from California, but he's kind of down from my area here. And I can tell you that progressives around here don't consider him a particular ally. So, you have, these.
And he's wrapped up into the New York debacle where they lost 5 seats in New York. He's part of that too.
These three. Now, keep in mind that the main skill of a speaker and a leadership group like this is fundraising.
Yeah.
That is what they do. And that is what they are known for. And that is how they get their way. Nancy Pelosi was incredibly skilled at that and had other skills to go along with it. I mean, Kevin McCarthy's a great fundraiser, but that doesn't mean he's going to be able to run that fractious caucus that he's got now. But that's how they prove themselves to get into leadership. And I don't know about the progressives. Like, I think we all thought that maybe Pramila would run. I mean, maybe that ill-considered letter that they sent out a couple months ago seems to have.
She called it an ill-considered letter.
Maybe, cast a pall a little bit on her. I don't know if anybody's still thinking that, but that's my impression. But that shouldn't mean anything. I mean,
it's so curious to me how they think to them is worlds different. Worlds different. And to us is like, there's very not even a smidget, like a hair of a hair, half of a hair. Very little difference between these people you see on the screen and Hakeem Jeffries.
The spokesperson for the progressives, I think, in the House, and she's shown great skill, I think, in wrangling that group and wrangling her people to kind of, try and maintain some, integrity in all these negotiations, while at the same time exercising their power to, to get some things. So I think she's shown some great skill. Maybe she will run. I mean, maybe that's going to happen. I don't know, but you're absolutely right that these guys getting out in front like this with the, imprimatur of the Queen and her court is, a huge advantage. I mean, it's huge.
And the only upside, we had talked about this. I know that you and I had talked about it in 2020. Maybe it was in the run up to her, in the run up to her. The Democrats, in the run, maybe in the wake of the 2020 election, or even in the run up to the 2020 election, when Tim Ryan was starting to contemplate to challenge her, and we should say, you can look over and what's happened with the Republicans. The Freedom Caucus is probably 10 times the size of let's say the Squad at this point, maybe.
Why is he comparing the caucus to members of the Progressive Caucus? Why is he doing that? I find that very interesting.
Maybe it's going to be less now with new people coming in, but there's probably at least 50 members of the Freedom Caucus.
I think it's more now.
And the distance between the Freedom Caucus and the rest of the Republican Party has narrowed, I think, over the past 5 or 6 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Frankly,
Has that not narrowed for the Progressive Caucus? Hasn't it narrowed for the Progressive Caucus? They're voting. They're now known as the NATO left. So I would argue it's the same. The inability, or maybe it's the refusal to acknowledge that these people are literally the same, but then they find, and they call it nuance. They find these bullshit reasons to point out how they're different. So, for example, what's the difference between AOC and Crowley, the one she replaced? Vote wise, support wise, like what's different? There is no difference except for tweets, except for GQ magazine covers. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. We're gonna revisit this subject because it's gonna be more to add as they add more opinion to it. And I don't want to cover, there is another video to TYT, but we've already been on this for a while. So I want to cover the rapid fire stories for the last 20 minutes and get out of here. So that's going to be the difference. So here it goes. The difference between AOC and Crowley is that they don't want to date Crowley. See, oh, I get it. You're saying looks is the difference. There is more. That's my point. There is more progressive caucus. There's more people in the progressive caucus. So, but that is why he has to make it seem like, like the squad is fewer members of them. That's why he's not comparing them to progressive caucus. I guess. All right. So let's take a short pause here. We're gonna do some more comments up, and then we got the rapid fire stories to cover. We're gonna cover the Jon Stewart, and that guy Jon Stewart just completely fell off. So we're gonna transition to the Jon Stewart story, and how we do that is go here. I think that video, it's just a short clip from his show where he had Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton on his show at the same time. Is this it? No, on his show. And let's go to bookmarks. Pull this up for you. So yeah. We'll move on from that story and move to this story right here. And we'll start with my brother, Nick, and his quote tweet, how completely ruined are your credibility, and how to completely ruin all your credibility in one interview. And that's what I believe, that Jon Stewart is completely destroying his credibility here. Completely destroying. This is a joke. So here is part of the interview. The one in the green. Oh, yeah. So I don't need to point them out. You see who's Hillary. You see who's Condoleezza Rice. So this is. We're just gonna talk about a little bit of it and then move on to the next video, the next story, which will be. Some people like to know what's coming up. So the next story we will do. Oh, the Trump back on Twitter poll that Elon put up. That'll be the next story. So next story will be the Trump poll. And the last time I checked, it was winning that most, and it had like 12 million votes, but it was winning that Donald Trump, for people saying Donald Trump should be allowed to come back. So we're going to cover that along with some of the comments to that poll in just a moment or right after this. But first, let's join our Substack. If you are just got here an hour and 45 minutes into the stream and you're just now here for the last segment, which is our rapid fire stories. If you're here... just getting here, join our Substack so that you get notifications a lot sooner and you know when we go live so you can catch us from the beginning. Or if you're watching this on replay and you wish you were watching it live, you can join the Substack and we will send those notifications to you. We are currently sitting at 419 likes with lots of new people here who haven't had a chance to like. this stream yet. Can we shoot for 450? Lots of new people that are watching now that weren't watching earlier. So if we can shoot for 450, 450 likes. And when we started the stream, we were at 25,691. That's where we were when we started the stream. So, all right. So, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And if you think you're subscribed, make sure you double check. Let's toss up some comments and then we'll get back into the story. First rapid fire story is this Jon Stewart video with Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice. Just joined the stream and likes. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Like number 232. Thank you for that. Let's go to some other comment. Two cheeks of the same backside. I'm sure that's a political reference. Okay, I gotta go rest a little. It's 12 a.m. here in France. Thank you, Michelle, or Michelita. Thank you, Michelita, for watching us over there in France. Lots of international watchers here. Clown-Delisa Rice. Clown-Delisa Rice. John will talk the talk, but can't take the appropriate actions. He wants to get paid. You can't have a deal with things like Apple and do that and be against the war machine. You simply cannot. It's simply not possible. So let's watch a little bit of the video.
You know, just very briefly on Libya, because that was on my watch.
But this is not, again.
No,
this
but
is not
I want to make a larger point because, you know, Gaddafi was a bad actor. Everybody knew he was a bad actor, and he threatened to kill his people by cockroaches. The United States.
Jon Stewart just sure. So again, putting our faith in these rich people without class consciousness who just project certain things that we call left, but other parts of the world is not left. Medicare for all is not left in other parts of the world. There's conservatives who believe in healthcare for all. It's only left here. So the guy goes out and says some good things about the first responders, and everybody thinks he's great. Why? He's a millionaire just like them. I mean, he's a gajillionaire just like them. Doing the same contract with a lot of these same companies. Do you think Apple's going to let him steer from the military industrial complex narrative? This is a joke. Let's listen a little more. I can't hear that much of this, but good thing that this is just a rapid fire.
It was actually the supporter of European countries through NATO and the Arab League, which for the very first time came and said, we want to be part of trying to protect the people of Libya. Now, so I feel that particular intervention, we had certain capabilities militarily that nobody else had, which we used to assist them. But, you know, the Emiratis were flying and the Jordanians were flying, etc. The problem.
Just listening to her, you know what's chilling? If she became president, where would we be? We think we're in a bad place militarily. Where would we be if we had this hawk who is still trying to make excuses and explain this Libya decision? Because you think it hasn't gotten back that this has been a disaster? You think it hasn't gotten back? Or she's heard all the criticism. And she still, to her death, is just going to keep trying to say these same lines. And Jon Stewart is just sitting there, collecting his check, doing his job to give this narrative to some non-establishment adjacent, left-leaning adjacent people who like him. In the same way that Breaking Point does. Exactly. Gaddafi wasn't even in the same league with these two murderers. Not even in the same league. We all know that he was this. Really? Let's continue.
And this is where I think you make a really good point. The problem is, okay, Gaddafi's gone. His horrible prisons are emptied. What comes next?
Right. That's
what comes next?
And that's always a problem because there's always a vacuum. Because look, dictators don't allow institutions to flourish. So when you take the dictator out, there are no institutions.
That's right.
So but the question becomes: do you then say let Gaddafi go ahead and kill his people because it's going to be hard afterwards, or
we always have to paint ourselves as the white savior? This is literally, and then you have this shucking and drive nigga, house Negro right here, Condoleezza Rice, the coon, shielding for white supremacy against Africa. Protect the people of Libya by turn it into a slave state. That helped. These are two war criminals.
or in our case, we thought Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. You're going to let
You thought he had it. That's good enough to kill over half a million. I think it was 500,000 Iraqi kids. That Madeleine Albright said it was worth it. These people are truly disgusting. Truly disgusting.
let that continue, or are you going to take him out? And then do the best that you can in helping people to recover. You have to recognize that it's going to be hard once you take the dictator out. But John, it's a little bit of a false choice to say, well, then just leave the dictator in place because it won't be chaotic.
Dictator in place. That's not a...
It may not be chaotic.
I guess what I'm saying is
it may not be chaotic.
If we take
but
that
it might be
role
brutal
on,
against the people.
If we take that role on, can we sustain as a country? You know, when you think about the Soviet Union's collapse, they overextended and they got in an arms race with us and they had all these satellites. Are we overextending America's power, especially militarily, when you talk about an $800 billion defense budget?
Let's assume instead of being in a podcast studio, we were in the Situation Room, or in the tank in the Defense Department, wherever we were. Okay, and we're saying, okay, what do you see on the horizon? Well, North Korea.
This person would have led us to a nuclear holocaust. She wants to imagine we're really doing this here. Yes, we are not the imperialists. We are the workers. This is terrible here. Okay, we're going to be ending this in maybe another minute, if that.
Korea is shooting these missiles over our ally, Japan.
Right.
China is trying to build up its blue water navy so that it can compete with us anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, the Russia-China relationship. It's tricky, but we have to watch it really carefully because we don't know where that might lead. We've got.
That's it for me. I'm going to call it. But this is truly despicable. There's just a lot of ass kissing. There's just a lot of believing in the war propaganda. This is war propaganda. That's what this is. Why are they bringing these two people? What does this do? Two people, architects, the people who carried out terrible atrocities. But they're women, so we're winning, right? Feminism won here. Just humanity died. That's all. Let's continue, or let's now move to the next rapid fire story. And what did I say was next here? Forgot that quick. Oh, the Trump poll. So Elon put up a poll, reinstate Trump. Now, I don't know where it's at now, so let's check and see if it has updated, if it has changed. But Elon, oops, I gotta put the E there. Wow, I actually noticed that I misspelled something wrong. This could be still misspelled, but reinstate. Let's see. Elon, reinstate Trump. That is the question that he posed. And we're going to go to that poll and read some of the comments. Just a terrible disappointment. Jon Stewart. Terrible disappointment. Actually, let me put this back up here. And just read some of the comments before we move to this. So this is Nick. How to completely ruin all of your credibility. Read that earlier. And let's read this one. This one's from Jimmy Dore. Today, I sit down with two horrendous war criminals who I owe a debt of gratitude to for creating so many maimed soldiers that I now advocate for. I don't correct any of their lies here. Thought it would be rude. Being polite to war criminals on the left and right is what I'm about. That's essentially Jimmy translated what the clip should be translated to. I didn't retweet that, but that's at 5,000 likes already. Oh, it looks like Jimmy. Oh, he tweeted twice about this. So that affected him this much. So let's see this next tweet. Good thing it's just two blood-soaked war criminals he's interviewing and not a boogaloo boy. That's not allowed. But this is the narrative. Like, it's okay to interview Matt Gaetz, but not a boogaloo boy. It's okay to interview these war criminals, but not other people, but not Jimmy Dore. But so I get the point. This one here, Peter Coffin. The problem with Jon Stewart, a very appropriate podcast title. The problem with Jon Stewart, and there is the evidence. The problem with him is a video. You two help burn Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Somalia, Libya, Syria, Yemen, and Ukraine to the fucking ground. More than 2 million people are dead. So tell us, what lessons do we need to learn from you about how necessary it was? Wow, brilliant. Thanks. That's from Scott Horton. Then this one here from Raina. Very disappointed that Jon Stewart had two literal war criminals on his podcast and decided to let them lie and justify their war crimes without any pushback. Sad indictment on a neutered Western media class that accepts the U.S. terror government's line without any objection. And then that's the original. And Margaret Kimberly, she will be here on Monday, actually. So she'll be on the network on Monday. But Margaret Kimberly had this to say. Gaddafi was a bad actor, ? President Bush and Biden displaced 37 million people, yet you gave those criminals a platform. Sickening. That's Margaret Kimberly, and she's showing all the displacements on that there were all the map of all the people they are in charge of displacing. Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, all of these people displaced. And then the receipt there. That's the receipt. So now I'm able to move on to the next story. So we'll close it out there. We'll move on now to this next story, which is likely be very short, and that's the poll. that Elon Musk put out about asking about whether or not to allow or to reinstate Donald Trump's Twitter account. Okay, yeah, I'm in the right place now. Sorry, still got a lot of screens open. So let's listen or let's watch. I think it's right after this, right here. So here is the tweet. Elon Musk reinstate former President Trump. And look how close it is there. Let me see if I can blow it up even more for you. Can I? Yeah, I guess I can. So there we go. That's huge. Yeah. So here we are. I'll take the banner down so we can see the no amount. So Elon Musk reinstate former President Trump. I clicked yes. I didn't think he should have been gone in the first place, and I would love to see him back because it would bring comedy back. It would bring the number of meltdowns that liberals have. So reinstate former President Trump, 51.8% says yes, and 48.2% say no. I would have to say probably the independents is slightly giving the yes vote a little edge. Now, you can see the total here. I've never seen it. Look at that. 14,526,214. So that's the amount of votes, and it's coming up on exactly 24 hours. But that is crazy. That is crazy. And like I said, I voted yes because I think he should be back. I don't think anyone, and I think this is just asking about some other people that were polled. And this says 134 million 34 million people have seen this poll. 134 million, I'm sorry. And then here is Peter Dow. I didn't see this earlier, but it's here. On reinstating Trump, intellectual honesty. Trump is no more dangerous than dozens of other oligarch-owned politicians from both ruling parties. I don't see a logical argument for banning him while allowing them to spread their corporate-funded propaganda. I also believe that, and it says reinstate. And that is Peter Dow's take. Let's go to some of the other ones. I'm curious more of what he's saying here. When polls, actually, let's read this because it's based on this. With 116.6 million followers, your polls are starting to become statistically significant. What if Twitter had an all users poll that you could push to every single Twitter account to find out what the entire network is thinking with no particular adverse selection? And then he responds to that tweet. I guess he found it interesting. When polls are about a specific question, even those who don't follow me tend to hear about it. That said, I agree with the idea of an all-user poll should also be an all-user by country. And then Justin Amash chimes in here. So just going down the timeline and reading you what's happening. Justin Amash says this: I don't like the permanent bans at all, but specific to Donald Trump, his ban is inconsistent with the treatment of other political figures in the United States and around the world. There are authoritarian regimes and active Twitter accounts. Create a clear standard and follow it. That is Justin's point here. All right, so let's go back one and continue down this thread here. It says, never voted for Trump, but I am tremendously disappointed to see this poll so close. People have grown so weak incredibly. Let everyone speak. Dems are going to need to stop the count so they can haul in some mail-in votes. Because that's what it was at first, I guess they were pointing out. All right, so we can go back. Here, because from here, I want to bring up some of the... Man, I can't believe this. Look at how many likes. I want to go through some of these, the quote tweets. I want to do that again. Let's click on it. And right here. What he did? Oh, here goes somebody says, breaking. Donald Trump has weighed in on Elon Musk's Twitter poll. And this is from Benny. I'm trying to get his name, but not going to happen. Vote now with positivity, but don't worry, we aren't going anywhere. Truth Social is special. So he's telling people to vote, I guess, is the point here. And here's another one. Billions spent on psyops to deceive the public about Donald Trump, and yet he's still going to win a poll of 20 million people. And that's what it was at the time. Almost 14 million votes. So this is starting to be dated. I'll stop here. There are 3 hours remaining in Elon Musk's poll. If Donald Trump Twitter account should be, if asking Donald Trump's Twitter account should be reinstated. So it looks like people are trying to get people to go out and vote. So that looks like what some of these tweets were. All right, so that is that one. So let's move to the next rapid fire story. And that is also here. 1 second. Also in my bookmarks here. Just going to scroll down. So the next story is not that one. Not that one. Not Elon. Sorry, everybody. I have a lot of stuff to prepare. I didn't even get to some of the other tweets, just as like receipts for some of the other things because it was just too much. I don't see it. So I'll go MBS immunity. So MBS is being offered or given immunity for the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. So MBS immunity is the next story we're going to cover here. And we'll start with this tweet from Richard Medhurst, friend of the network. He's been on here a couple of times, maybe 3 times. The Biden administration gave MBS immunity from prosecution for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, blocking a suit by his fiance. Let me see if he attaches an article here. And then he shows the fist pump. But let's continue to thread in order. Biden really making a peril out of them. Technically speaking, this is not a new practice. Foreign heads of states are traditionally given immunity from prosecution while still in office. However, MBS only became the prime minister of Saudi Arabia 2 months ago. So did the Biden administration wait until he could be shielded? Absolutely, Richard. Absolutely. That's what they did. They waited for him to become technically a head of state so they can say he's shielded from immunity. Biden's own director of national intelligence established that MBS ordered the killing. If Biden wants to give him immunity, why not explore other familiar avenues, sanctions, arms, embargoes? U.S. has no shortage of imagination. They just don't want to because they need Arab oil. So that is Richard Medhurst, and this is a quote from I don't know if this is the State Department. I don't want to give his name because I don't know his name yet, but let me play the video, but I'm going to read the caption. Quote, we have given immunity to lots of killers in the past, including Indian Prime Minister Modi. U.S. State Department spokes on why Biden gave immunity to Saudi Crown Prince MBS for killing him. Now, it's not a coincidence that you see the ethnicity of the person delivering the news.
Officials across the world is that this is various officials across the world is that this is not the first time that the United States has done this. It is a longstanding and consistent line of effort. It has been applied to a number of heads of state previously. Some examples, President Aristide in Haiti in 1993, President Mugabe in Zimbabwe in 2001, Prime Minister Modi in India in 2014, and President Kabila in the DRC in 2018. This is a consistent practice that we have afforded to heads of states, heads of governments, and foreign
But where the
ministers.
lie is, and he finishes here, but where the lie is that he wasn't head of state 2 months ago. And everybody knows it. That's why you have the freaking dumb look on your face as you're delivering this news. It's hard to be the person to deliver garbage. When you know it's garbage, you know people seeing it, hearing you say it is going to know it's garbage. It's hard to put on the face of sincerity. And he clearly doesn't have that. He's just saying, this is what it is. I know this is stupid as fuck, but this is what it is. Fuck it. Video. There we go. Sorry, went too far back. Sorry. Here we go. And let's continue with some more commentary here, and then I'm going to bring up an article here. Oh, here's Code Pink. This is actually the article. They have the Code Common Dream article I was going to bring up. So we'll stop here. So this is Code Pink. Remember this the next time President Biden and Blinken make hypocritical speeches about why they're sanctioning other countries over human rights. And I'm going to bring this up. Let me just get this. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the same window. The Common Dreams article that is referring to is this one here. Here is the headline. Morally deplorable. Biden administration recommends immunity for MBS in Khashoggi case. Quote, the Biden administration has not only shielded MBS from the accountability from accountability in U.S. courts, but has effectively issued him a license to kill more detractors and declared that he will never be accountable. This is written by Jake Johnson yesterday. The Biden administration said in a U.S. federal court filing on Thursday that Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman should be granted sovereign immunity in a civil case brought by the fiancé of murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi, a stance that human rights advocates condemned as a betrayal of the president's vow to hold the Saudi leader accountable. Lawyers for the U.S. Department of Justice wrote in the new filing that the White House quote has determined that defendant bin Salman, as the sitting head of a foreign country, enjoys head of state immunity from the jurisdiction of the U.S. courts as a result of that office and is entitled to immunity from the court's jurisdiction of this suit while he holds that office. It's impossible to read the Biden administration's move today as anything but more than a capitulation to Saudi pressure tactics. Hattis, the fiance of Khashoggi, tweeted in response to the Justice Democrat filing that Jamal died again today, end quote. While the Biden administration's intervention is non-binding, it will likely spell an end to the case, which sought significant monetary damages, as well as discovery from American law enforcement, intelligence, and administration officials to prove that the extrajudicial killing of Mr. Khashoggi was ordered from the top of the Saudi leadership hierarchy. Just despicable. Another broken promise. I wonder will left reformist boutique media go away from this is the Democratic Party. Like, this is part of the Democratic Party. This is part of the Justice Democrats. You can't separate yourself from this. This is you. And we'll end that story there. I think I covered all the story. Jon Stewart, MBS, and Elon. Yes, I have covered all the stories. We'll cut these clips up. Got a lot of clips, so I think tomorrow I'll be cutting up a lot of clips and probably a little bit today. So I'm at the 2 hour 16 minute mark. Let's do some comments since I've been talking a lot. Let's do some comments for the last part of this stream. We'll see where it goes with the comments. Hang on a second here. I need to let this refresh. Okay, so yes, we are currently at 491 likes. Can we push to 500? That's 9 more. Let's end with 500 likes before the stream is over, and let's bring up some comments that you may have on any of the story. Just open comments on anything. You can comment on this last story that we did, any of the stories that we did in the stream, or if you just have another topic that you want to talk about, you can also do that also. So that's what we're going to do. Let me bring up my closeout video. Oh, here is here is Mike. I did it on another stream, but that's the video where you can hear him speaking, and it's like, is this the same Mike of today? I should have brought that up in the earlier segment, but I forgot to. Let me find my closeout video. This is a classic that I always like to do. We're going to end with Michael Parenti speaking about capitalism and imperialism. So this will be our ending video, but we're not ending yet. We're going to go through a bunch of comments. Let's go through a bunch of comments here, and I'm going to star any super chats. Here goes a super chat here. Khashoggi was a CIA asset. And I have heard about that he was several points considered CIA. So absolutely I've heard about that. It's first and funny because I'm muted all the time. Not all the time, but I'm the one that gets caught muted sometimes. But now my mic is has a short in it, so I can't hit it as hard. Chubby Sagar before the fake teeth. I don't know what the conversation is about, but yes. Capitalists surprised how easily we fall for the same trick. I'm number 456. We need 4 more likes. Okay, thank you for doing that. CJ, I love your closeout videos. Thank you. Absolutely. My pleasure. Let's continue. Some more comments. Oops, let's go up some more. Yeah, Medhurst is pretty based. Yes. Bye. Just bye. More comments. I don't no, that's inside conversation. Gotta run, but it was great hanging out with all of y'all as usual. Sending love and peace each and every one of you. See you in the next time. Great that our audience gets along. Our audience building community here. Great to see. So why does he need immunity? He's a foreign head of state. Also, he said he wasn't guilty. Exactly. Exactly. So, but it's because of some of the things they said in that article. If they allow the case to go on, then there's discovery. And then all of these intelligence agencies, the Alphabet Group, have to give up some information because they have determined that it was him. So all of that would be made public. And that's just something that they're not going to do, considering they want some oil from them, and considering, they just decreased the oil output. OPEC decreased by 2 million barrels a day. So this could be just pandering for that. The past almost 3 years have imposed medical and other freedom interventions on people that have beaten so many down and made more citizens doormats. Any other circus ignorance agenda? Don't know what that is. Let's continue. Thank you, CJ. All right, so I think that's all the comments for today. The target is 500 likes. Please share this. I know it's the weekend. Please share this. Let's make sure some more people are able to watch. I'm going to play this and throw up more comments as this is playing. So keep making your comments. I'll keep throwing those up. And if you stay around and want to see your comments after this video plays, the stream is not going to end. What's going to happen is all of your a lot more comments will be tossed up on a blank screen. So if you want to see your comment on screen, just stick around after this video plays. Outside of that, you got the JB show tomorrow, and I'm not sure what else somebody else may drop in. Maybe Rome, maybe me, maybe Nick. Who knows? We shall see. But this is Michael Parenti, and this is how we're going to end today's stream. Thank you for watching. Look for those clips to be cut up.
Nature of capitalism that it must expand. A no-growth capitalism, as some of our more naive ecologists have argued for, is a contradiction in terms. The reason you invest is to accumulate. And your accumulation of capital has no purpose or meaning unless you can mix it with labor to yet increase your wealth further. And of course, you use large sums of it for personal consumption and for political power and for control of your culture and for that wonderful, good, happy life that you so like. Now, that nature of expansion really affects the nature of, it's an important imperative because it means capitalism also can never stay home. It goes abroad. If you ever saw the film Controlling Interest, there's a corporate president who says, those corporations that stayed regional in New England years ago and decided not to go national, we can't even remember their names. They died. We had to go national. And those of us who are now national know we have to go international. We have to invest abroad. So one of the laws of capitalist motion and development is this inexorable expansion. And that means expansion into an expropriation of the third world. A process that's been going on for about 400 years, perpetrated by the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the Dutch, the Belgians, the French, the English, and most recently, most successfully, most impressively, by the Americans. That is by the ruling classes of these countries, not by the ordinary people. The ordinary people simply paid the costs of empire. The ordinary people simply sent their sons off to die on the plains of India or in the jungles of the Congo or in Latin America, wherever else. But that expropriation of the third world that's been going on for 400 years brings us to another revelation, namely that the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Most countries are rich. The Philippines are rich. Brazil is rich. Mexico is rich. Chile is rich.